Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying time is here. That's right, we're talking 10 to Midnight with Charles Bronson on Kill by Kill. Well, greetings and salutations, Internet. It's your old pal Patrick Hamilton coming to you once again from the mean streets of Hollywood Boulevard and the nurses' dorms of UCLA. This is the Kill by Kill podcast, where we are dedicated to celebrating the least discussed component of any horror or horror-adjacent related film, the characters. We're going to unpack all the goriest of details of 10 to Midnight in the hopes that a nurse student's untimely end is just the beginning of the jokes that we can make at their expense. And as always, there's only one person that I trust, that if I want to go up to the lake again, she's going to bring the boogie van. The one, the only, Gina Radcliffe. How are you doing today, Gina?
I'm good. I've washed my eyes.
Oh, good.
I've scrubbed my hands according to CDC directions.
That makes sense.
I am ready to talk about this Sleazer piece.
It is a lot of handling of sex toys, and we're going to get into all of it, but I don't want to alarm you right now, all right? I'm going to break it to you very plainly, Gina. We are not alone. That is right. We have a special guest.
Yeah, speaking of sex toys.
You might know him from the two podcasts that have prepared him better than any of our other possible guests for this very movie. Hooked on TJ Hooker, and of course, We Hate Movies. The one, the only, Eric Szyszka. How are you doing today, Eric?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me, first of all, and thanks for mentioning the TJ Hooker podcast. I think you're the only person that knows about that.
I love that TJ Hooker podcast. That is a lot of maybe it was just for me, but I really enjoyed it.
I'm glad someone is enjoying it.
So we have a bit of a tradition here on the Kill by Kill podcast. We often ask our guests, what was the first time you watched the movie that we're covering? What was the first time you caught 10 to Midnight?
You know, I was kind of a late bloomer on 10 to Midnight. I first saw it probably like 5 years ago when we were like trying to find, fodder for our podcast, We Hate Movies. And at the time, I don't know why, I was just like, well, I don't know if this is an episode. I was obviously greening out and drunk, and I had fallen asleep during parts of it. Because now I rewatched it for your show, your great show, and it is a fun-ass, ridiculous movie.
It is quite goofy in parts, and I think it starts off great and it ends bonkers. And there's that 45 minutes in the middle where it's like, whoa, let's hold on. What if we made this an ABC procedural drama? Would that be fun for everyone? And like, no, it wouldn't. Okay, let's get him to a nurse's dorm and have him start killing people naked.
And a drama about fathers and daughters reconnecting.
Yeah, it is an interesting turn. It's like an episode of TJ Hooker where the B storyline starts invading the A storyline, and you're like, "What are you doing? Get out of here!"
Come on, man! I want to see him take down that drug ring of 5 people.
No, instead, I'm going to play around with these blood samples.
Hey, where do you keep that blood? I stared into a mirror for a good 2 hours last night trying to perfect a Charles Bronson, and I'm not sure I've nailed it.
I have not nailed it either, and you guys should have asked one of my co-hosts that do actually better impressions.
Well, we are very excited to have you here for this. Let's start where it all starts, and that's in a police station in a section of the movie that was originally 15 minutes in, but they decided to put Charles Bronson up front because that's what put butts in seats back in 1981. Charles Bronson types like those punk keys knows what's coming to him. He types with a violence that is just disturbing.
Hammering at those keys.
QWERTY.
He's a two-finger wonder, and they work independently of one another. So I hope the A and the L are alternating with one another because they're getting a lot of work in this scene.
That's how he spent most of his days as a cop, it seems.
Yes.
It feels like he's supposed to be a police officer in this. He keeps saying that his partner He doesn't buy, like everyone says the partner, they don't buy this guy as being a cop. I don't buy Charles Bronson as a cop in this either.
He's a terrible cop. He's like the worst.
Yeah.
He's dishonest. He gets, he's dishonest. He gets 3 more people killed and traumatizes his daughter for life.
And plants evidence.
Poorly. He plants evidence poorly. That's even the worst thing. It's like he sort of promotes the idea that at one time they would have just done this willy-nilly, which is great news for everybody. But he does it so poorly that Andrew fucking Stevens works it out. And that's really saying something.
Andrew Stevens, who shockingly does not play the killer in this.
No, but he does sweat at one point in the movie. And whenever Andrew Stevens starts to sweat, I get nervous. It's like he's glistening doom. It's never worked out well in any movie that he's been in. When we covered The Seduction, every time he started to sweat, it was bad fucking news. And that was a moist movie.
Oh, man. This is especially distressing amidst the whole COVID-19 thing. Just thinking about sweat flying everywhere.
Yeah, and Andrew Stevens sweating is like the vein throbbing in the middle of Michael Ironside's forehead and Scanners. It's just something terrible is about to happen.
I actually wrote down when we get to the lake crime scene that Andrew Stevens constantly looks like he's in the middle of a Scanners read.
Well, he looks like he does in The Fury.
Yeah,
like he's gonna like destroy an amusement park ride with his mind.
And for some reason, taking a lot of Arab sheiks with him in that particular, and they crash into a Shakey's. I need to rewatch The Fury, but honestly, there's like 3 things I remember about it.
I need to watch it for the first time. It sounds like.
Oh no, believe you me, there are long sequences in it where you're watching people dress up and like as little old ladies, and you're like, what the fuck is this movie? And then towards the end, when people start blowing up, you're like, oh, that's what I tuned in for.
It's basically like Brian De Palma's sequel to his own to Carrie, but Carrie's a boy and she's been kidnapped by the government to be some sort of super weapon.
I like it. I'm all in on this movie. I might watch it right after we get done here.
No, it's well worth your time. I mean, it's not. You won't be bored. I promise you that. Even
John Cassavetes plays the bad guy.
That's amazing.
And he hates every minute of it, and you can tell. He's literally telling the audience, "This is shit. I can't. Can you believe I'm doing this? Because I can't. I'm taking every dime of this and making a real movie." He just doesn't say it in words.
Just grimaces.
In that police office, Charles Bronson says a couple things that I really enjoyed, which is, what I want is a killer, and what I want comes first. So we can basically deduce from this statement that Charles is very selfish in bed. Like, I want a toe-clenching release, and what I want comes first.
I said I'm going to take you downtown, not me.
And then his cop, or not his cop friend, the reporter who's there, when he says, "Didn't you read that statement?" He goes, "Oh, I could fart a better statement than that." Prove it. Prove it. It's something that people say, but I'll be honest with you. I've seen people's fart statements, and they seem amusing at the time, but they don't last long, thank God.
They should release the president's fart statements already. It's been so long. Lying Nancy Pelosi will tell you that I make a lot of wet ones, but no, they're silent.
They're the best. They're the greatest.
The most luxurious farts known to man.
Barron tells me he can smell it, but I think he's just trying to connect with me. I don't let it happen. Let's cut to City Hall Park. That's where my kiddo had his 3rd birthday party, so it was great to watch someone stalk a woman through it. This is where we meet Warren Stacy, and he begins his movie long quest to stare pure beams of horny at women. And the first one is Betty, who hops straight into the eponymous boogie van to go to the lake again. And this is where we get a flashback of Warren unzipping her dress at work, which raises the question, how is he still at work? How do you come back from unzipping a coworker's dress?
Well, clearly he's the best typewriter repairman in town.
Well, listen, he's not going to get fired because of the amazing technique he has with typewriters. Although we only see him fix one.
Do we even see that? I just feel like we see him carrying him around.
He lugs it from the typewriter repair office to a secretary's desk. So he's at least good at that.
I feel like I didn't even get a sense of what he does. It's just like, oh, he works in an office. All right.
Yeah, I really appreciate that this is a movie that in no way tried to go for the trope of a serial killer to outward appearances lives a normal life and is a normal human being, because in every single one of his interactions just malevolence just oozes out of every pore in his face.
Right, and no normal person would have that many karate posters in their house.
Of themselves. I mean, imagine you've taken a picture of yourself in a karate pose. First of all, congratulations. Second of all, you've now taken it to someone to print it large enough that you can push pin it to your closet wall. And that's where I feel someone would start dialing the FBI, right? Like, yeah, we'll take that order. Hello? Yes, you need to come and pick somebody up right now.
Like the alibi he sets up for himself is being a fucking creep to a woman in a movie theater.
Oh, you wait.
I wasn't another kind of creep. I was this kind of creep.
You were seeing Butch Cassidy. I guess that's the alibi. Can't touch him. BTK said the same thing. All these killers are watching Butch Cassidy. It's pretty genius how he's able to go to the movie theater, make a scene, and then he, I guess because he's staked the place out before, can go sneak out the back window and then commit murders, come back, slide back in. Well, by the way, he gets completely naked for the murders, which is pretty genius.
Yeah, his sense of timing is unreal. I mean, let's not even get into the fact that he somehow knew exactly where this van was going to be parked in the middle of the woods.
Well, yeah, I guess he'd been stalking. I guess the impression is because they have that ADR line of Betty saying, "Are we going to the lake again? I hope." He's just taken not to put too fine a dick finger on it, taking a wild stab that they're going to be at this point in that part of the lake.
It's just, I mean, how much planning did he put into this?
Based on the rest of the movie, not nearly enough, but it seems to work in his favor. The theater they go to is the Arrow Theater. That's in the beautiful White Ladies in Yoga Pants Center of Santa Monica. Warren, he's a very hips forward conversationalist, where he manages to put his dick up against multiple people while talking to them, and I don't care for it. I don't care for it at all, even in a time of social distancing.
He also thinks he's clever by repeating when someone asks him a question. He just repeats the question back to them, like a therapist would. It's like, have we met? Have we? Do I know you? Do you? Yes, this is how normal people talk.
No, you're not suspicious at all. This movie loves the idea of latex gloves and seems to think of them as a technology no one has seen before. It's like a Bond movie where they hand them a watch that can also tase people. It's like, hey, I got latex gloves. Woo! Like, we saw them on Quincy a decade ago. We're up to date.
Now I'm picturing like a dumb Q, like maybe Z or something. 00, here's some gloves. And here's a scarf if it gets chilly. That's all I got.
I'd like to direct you to these keys. Oh, what do? Oh, they start your car. You put them in, you turn it to the right, and the car starts.
Of course, you'll need petrol in the car.
You know what petrol is, Bond. And so I just like to say, I've been to the Arrow Theater. I've been to the bathroom in the Arrow Theater. You can poop without someone climbing in the window on top of you. Don't be threatened. It's a very lovely theater. But in this movie, it kind of projects an idea that they're watching people pee technology not quite up to date. Then we go to the lake. So here's a bit of location porn for everybody. The lake that this happens at is the Franklin Canyon Reservoir. That was also used as the opening credits in the Andy Griffith Show. So those two things happened in the same place.
Which makes sense because the Andy Griffith Show also featured a nude serial killer.
It's true.
That's true. He would just lock himself up at night next to the guy who was the drunk. We rarely had conversations with him. It's right next to the Greystone Mansion. That's where they had the final shootout in Beverly Hills Cop. But as Eric mentioned, Warren's deal is that he wants to kill people in the nude. So we not only get him in the nude, but in this situation, Betty and her boyfriend are also nude.
Can I say it's really sad how forgotten this male victim is in this case. Like when they're looking through like the crime scene photos, he's not there. It's sort of like, oh, he just had the bad luck to be there. It's like, just throw him on the van. We'll worry about him later.
Oh, it's a man. You get one. It's fine.
Collateral damage.
We've all killed men before. It's fine.
This naked, well, yes, in a reverse of every policy known to man, the violence against a woman is taken more seriously.
But also, I mean, this is also a police department that notifies the victim's job before they tell her family.
Well, they were expecting her at work, Gina. For crying out loud, the gears of industry must be allowed to continue to grind.
Look at the stock market. Families can come later.
That's right. Their parents will hear about it soon enough. I would take this movie's posit of his naked prey fetish a bit more seriously if every other time they stepped down, they yelled, ouch. Because I don't walk around with bare feet, and I have 2 pine trees just outside my house. It's not fun to walk around in nature in bare feet. And both of these people are doing it and doing okay for the most part.
I mean, I'm just impressed by the cinematography in that they don't even accidentally show a glimpse of his penis, even once. It's I mean, they must have done some editing. That editing room must have been an interesting experience.
Yeah, but you got plenty of cheeks.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes.
Seeing him chase her and just run around, you could set it to Benny Hill, honestly.
And yet somehow his little tiny underpants are even more disturbing than when he's completely naked.
Oh, those
like when he's doing his little booty shaking dance while he's getting ready to go out. Like, no, please stop.
So I guess he does it in the nude because, well, later on Charles Bronson plants like blood stains on his clothing. So I guess it's just to avoid blood being on his clothes. But he probably gets off on it too.
Yeah, there was apparently a part in the script where he was supposed to go into the lake to wash himself off. But I think and they don't include that in the movie.
That would have been a hot scene.
Oh, my God. To see him in a cold lake. Oh,
just see him back in the movie theater dripping wet. Oh, hey, ladies.
There's something about the way they jump off that cliff while holding hands that just gets to me. I don't know.
It's when in Butch Cassidy, when raindrops start falling on my head, it actually happens in the theater.
Psychosomatic. I think the big sort of problem with the whole I'm naked, therefore I can't bring evidence back with me is he's covered in blood and then he puts clothes back on. Wouldn't the blood be on the inside of the clothes? Does he think that the police can't look there?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe he did go in the lake.
Yeah, I think you're supposed to assume that he's washing himself off between killing and getting dressed again.
Man, that's a long process, but he's gotten this far. What can you say? There is one part of that Warren's apartment sequence that I really need to talk about. And that is, it's the first time we hear "Look at Me" by Bill Scott. This is a song,
which is apparently the only piece of music he owns.
Oh no, this is the only one they could afford to buy. They're like, you have enough money to buy one song. It's like, wait, what is the guy who was the third riffraff in Rocky Horror Picture Show doing? He's like, oh, he's got a weird fucking song called "Look at Me." I'd like to give you some sample lyrics that I managed to pick up. Yes, the mouse has learned to disguise himself but the snake knows not to believe. That's a fucking pop song.
So is Bronson the snake?
Give this to Taylor Swift and it would be on top of the charts right now. It's a song about a mouse hiding from a snake. Okay. All right. Sure.
We can all relate to that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's some
Who
deep
among
shit,
us?
man.
It's very deep. So he comes back to the Aero Theater and flushes those gloves down the toilet. So good news for the Aero pipes. They must be very clear to get a giant bag of latex gloves down there. And later we cut back to the lake crime scene. And this is where I knew it was destiny that we would have Eric on as guest today. Because look who shows up, but the one, the only, Wilford Brimley.
Totally.
I completely forgot he was in it.
He is underutilized too. He's only got a few scenes and he's just like, oh, hey doc, she raped her, what? And that's it.
What do you think? What do you think, McCann?
Yeah, exactly.
Could someone tell me what to do next? Because I really need to get home. Brimley looks like a New Mexico-based walrus who's been saddled with a lot of gambling debts.
Yeah. That's it.
I also have Brimley looks like someone who has run out of chickens to breed and might lose the farm.
Oh yeah. God damn it! Gonna really have to sell the farm after no cockfighting. Cockfighting been canceled.
That's where I get my numbers. That undercuts the egg production.
Oh man, that reminds me of that movie Cockfighter with Warren Oates. I need to rewatch that. I remember liking it as a child.
Baby's first Warren Oates movie.
Sadly, my parents did not initiate me in that. I believe that's the movie in which Warren Oates has to choose between love and cockfighting and chooses cockfighting.
He takes his cock and goes, man.
It can only be used for one. Charles Bronson has a lot of interesting outfits in this movie, including an ensemble with a waffle tie. I haven't seen one of those since my dad worked at the bank. It is quite a look and seems out of place on this man. He is very dressed up for a local Los Angeles detective who handles sex murders.
Just a little bit, yeah. It's not really the look that fits the profession.
This is where we're introduced to Andrew Stevens, who appears in this movie for the first time like that English professor who thinks he's secretly sleeping with your 17-year-old dorm roommate, but everybody knows. That's the secret that Andrew Stevens carries with him through every scene. He's just a little too sinister to play nice.
Well, I mean, it takes a special kind of person to flirt with someone at a funeral.
Is there a successful flirtation in this entire movie? It seems like everyone fails at it.
Well, I mean, the daughter was kind of into it. She does agree to go out. She does ask me on a date, like, the next day.
This is where we get a nice little repeating gag that I kept count of throughout the movie, which is where Charles Bronson doesn't like a word that Andrew Stevens says. It starts with misfortune and moves on to propitious, misfortune, inured, and fabricated. He hates these 25-cent words. Just those.
Yeah, I'm a little unsettled by a police detective that doesn't know what the word fabricated means.
Fabricated.
That's unsettling.
It's a what?
Fabricated. Plastics.
I only know one word, Pally, and it's blammo.
I wave with finger guns. You're just going to have to live with it. This is where we get the next scene where that Betty's office manager learns of Betty's death. And it's very subtle because she
Well, this is also the first of the incredible amount of slut shaming against poor what was the victim's name? Betty. Like, there's a lot of slut shaming. Her dad slut shames her.
Yeah, that was insane. Like,
at her funeral.
If only she hadn't used her vagina.
Too many guys. Oh.
Some of them were great in the sack, but some of them weren't worth it.
She dated some real scumbags, let me tell you.
Some of them had golden penises, though. It really made the experiences worthwhile, but not for this. Not for this!
Like, her boss slut-shames her roommate slut-shames her dad slut-shames her.
Gina, here's the thing that just blew my mind about Betty's whole sitch, is that she lives in a one-bedroom apartment with her roommate in twin beds. Like they are Lucy and Desi.
There's a lot of stuff that seems a little antiquated in this. Like the nurses live in a dormitory together at the hospital, and I guess maybe are they supposed to be in like a medical school?
Yeah.
I guess that's why. But still, it feels like a very like almost 1950s-esque quality in this film where you're saying like, oh, they sleep in twin beds next to each other. Charles Bronson is sexless in this movie. and then you have the dormitory at the school. Like the all-female dormitory.
Yeah, Lisa Ellenbacher is sleeping in the kitchenette. That is, I mean, they are packed in there. Charles Bronson tells a story to Andrew Stevens about the local, because he used to live in the neighborhood they're driving through. He says, oh, look at that pharmacist station. He got hooked on drugs, got hooked on morphine. That is not, I've never heard that pronunciation of morphine before, where the E's just keep going like you've fallen asleep on your keyboard.
QWERTY. Yeah, and then he talks about like how the killer like wait, there was something like he killed his wife, right? He was a morphine addict that killed his wife, and then he killed the parole officer later on or something. It's just like this random neo-fascist speech to like solidify that like all crime is evil. And of course, this movie also sets up that attorneys are the scum of the earth as well.
Oh yeah, and that people going to a psychiatric hospital instead of jail or 6 feet under is why America's going into the toilet.
Right. Yeah. This is actually it's very relatable to T.J. Hooker because there's a lot of these same tropes because this is a 1983 movie and T.J. Hooker started in '82, so it's very much that like to like a Make America Great Again type of look at this. Like, oh, look at all these drugs, look at all this sex. We need to go back.
Well, we had covered Cobra a little while ago, and there's this whole opening sequence in which Sylvester Stallone just makes up crime statistics that have no basis in any sort of reality or truth. It's just how he feels about crime.
Someone is murdered every 0.05 seconds.
And I'm the cure.
And then he spins his pistol around, sticks it in his pants, and the head of the Cobra on the butt of his gun looks like a little penis. It's great. It's a super great movie.
You gotta love a movie where someone cuts a pizza with some scissors.
And it's in the same box that he has his gun cleaning equipment in the freezer. I mean, there's so much going on in that pizza cutting scene. It's unbelievable. Later at Betty's apartment, that's where we get to see Betty's roommate, who undresses so very, very, very slowly. Between this and the seduction, I wonder how anyone got any sort of unclothed work done.
There's a ton of nudity in this movie. It's like baffling amount of nudity.
Oh yeah,
so unnecessary.
Well, what I really love about the scene is how I guess it's her boyfriend that calls, and she sounds so insincere when she says how broken up she is. She's like, "Oh, I just been crying all day." She just sounds like it's like she's not actually sad about this, or is she just a bad actor?
Well, let me answer that question by telling you she is most famous for her role as one of the girls who gets out of that car in the ZZ Top music videos.
Okay.
So that's what she was doing previous to this. She kind of banked both those roles at the same time. And so since we all know her name, we all know it turned out great for her.
Also, Warren is nearly defeated by a night table drawer, which apparently has some sort of like titanium based lock attached to it.
Right. They're like she's trying to find a diary. We come to learn that like she kept a diary of everything she ever did and every guy she ever did or whatever. So he wants to get it before the cops get it, and then he's taking this knife to it. It's ridiculous.
He's like trembling with exertion to break into this drawer that you could probably break into with a nail file.
And inexplicably, inside there's just a little cardboard box that says diary. And then he opens it and the diary's not in there. And it's just like, I understand having a diary. I understand labeling it diary, but having a little box that the diary goes into that's also called diary.
In what appears to be a safe made of wood that cannot be broken into by a karate
he really
master.
He would have just been better off just like picking up the nightstand, taking it with him. I mean, how much could it have weighed?
Yeah, true.
Oh boy, yeah.
Well, there's a naked guy running by with a nightstand.
Well, come on, it's Los Angeles. How weird do you think that site is?
Oh yeah, performance art.
Listen, this is how you make $1 million on TikTok. You get out there with, you get naked, you get a wooden nightstand that looks like your 9-year-old sister owns it, and you just run through the park with it.
I mean, I've heard of TikTok, but dick talk.
Oh!
Cue the soul bossa nova.
By the way, I apologize for what I've done to your podcast.
Oh no. You're the tide that's raising all boats here. So I'm gonna say something that's very controversial, and it really crystallized when Bronson and Stevens are trying to nail Warren in his apartment, and that is everyone is terrible in this movie. Everyone is the worst at their job. They just, even if it's serial killer, they can't convincingly portray a human being, and it's fascinating to watch.
Well, like Warren kind of varies between he has two modes he operates under. One is malevolent and one is extremely whiny. Like that, like when they finally get him in the police station to interview him, Charles Bronson brings up that when he was a kid, he got in trouble for cutting a girl with a knife. And he's like, it was an accident. It's like, he's just like so petulant and he's doing nothing to like, he's immediately hostile to the police, and he's doing nothing to try to hide the fact that he's probably guilty of this.
No, Freddy Krueger hit it better.
Great detail in that scene too is when Bronson says like, "Oh, you used to," and then you tormented her parents by throwing a dead animal through their window.
I had been punished.
I think they're trying to like develop like, oh, he tortured animals, he tortured other kids, like it was all leading up to here.
Well, the thing is, he probably would have been caught eventually if Charles Bronson hadn't stolen something from his apartment to use against him in an interview, which is incredibly illegal.
Oh, no. Once you see someone's pocket pussy, the law here in California is you can just pick that up and take it with you elsewhere. It's eminent domain.
He had that, but then also, if my eyes did not deceive me, he also had a magazine with a naked man on the cover. So I'm not sure what the just throw whatever perverted thing you think we can throw into his bathroom. Go on, set decorator.
No, I think they heard he's perverted and they're like, I don't know, let the intern do it. I'm not going to that store.
During this too, Bronson accuses him of being a virgin. As first of all being a problem, and then like he's really driving home at that, and then the whole thing with the sex toy thing is like, what's this for, jacking off? It's an all-time line delivery, and if anyone listening is on the fence about this movie, watch this movie just for the jacking off. Worth the price of admission alone.
I never wanted to hear the words Charles Bronson say
jacking off.
And now it's all I hear, Eric. It's all I hear when I open a door, when I brush my teeth. It's just constant. It never goes away.
I hope it never goes away.
Oh my God. When he shakes that toy at him. Like, did you do this? Did you soil the carpet?
I rewound this scene like 3 times because I was like, "What is this device? It looks like almost like a KitchenAid mixer or something." But then, and it's got this weird like fleshy attachment. I was like, "Is that a foot to go up someone's ass?" But I guess it's like, I guess it is like a dick. Like you put your dick in it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you basically are supposed to fuck it.
Right.
It kind of looks like E.T.'s underarm. It's not appealing, I'll tell you that.
What are you
right now.
doing? Phoning home?
It also doesn't appear to have been cleaned recently, and every time he shook it, I recoiled.
Yeah, for all the usage and discussion of gloves, he is not wearing gloves when he picks up this thing.
No. The killer is wearing gloves. The cops are unconcerned about cross contamination, and we go on to see that they're actively just cross contaminating stuff.
And Charles Bronson is shocked when his fellow cops are upset that he stole something from this suspect's apartment.
Not only that, he starts assaulting him.
This is oh, is this new? We're not allowed to do this anymore? It's like, you've never been allowed to do that. Point to me at a time point to me a time in American history where cops were allowed to steal things from your apartment to use against you while questioning you. That has never been. That's not a newfangled liberal lawyer thing.
What I love too is how Charles Bronson goes on like a little screed here about like the way of the law. It protects maggots like these, and like they're an endangered species.
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, the law does exist to protect them, Charles Bronson. You're absolutely correct. That's exactly what it's there for.
But at what price is really what they're getting at. And also TJ Hooker also gets at that too. It's just a really weird, like, why don't we just take it a little further? Why don't we do a whole police state?
Yeah. Like, if only people would allow us to decide what's good, what's bad, and whether or not they should be in jail, because I think they should be in jail. And you all think that they should be in jail, and maybe you should be in jail. Everyone, let's get into jail. Like, no. No, that's not, no one else thinks like that, my man. Eventually, Warren gets fixated on what we learn later is Charles Bronson's daughter, played by Lisa Elbacher of the Beverly Hills Cop. And he hangs out outside her dorm, which is apparently around UCLA. So, and he is dressed like he's got a Newsies audition later on.
Oh my God, these obscene phone calls, Steve. I was just like, wow.
I didn't think there was a person who was worse at accents than me, and then I watched 10 to Midnight, and I discovered someone's making dirty phone calls with a and I'm going to put this in the biggest dick fingers I've ever done on the show, Mexican accent.
No, I think they called it Spanish. They refer to it as Spanish, which it is.
Yeah.
It is not.
He's straight out of Barcelona, that accent. He did a semester abroad, and he loved Madrid.
And also because apparently he knew what the word toro meant. Bull. It's like, oh, you speak Spanish.
This is like the big tip off too, because like I guess Betty received also obscene phone calls that were also sometimes were in Spanish. So there's that one moment when Charles Bronson was like, "Look up all these guys she fucked and see if they spoke Spanish."
I was really hoping that as they were writing down all of her former lovers, that Andrew Stevenson's pen would just run out of ink.
He's got a very long scroll. It just keeps going.
Just a Mel Brooks like screed falls out of his police notebook and rolls along the floor and out the door.
We were trying to narrow down the suspects, and we accidentally took the United States Senate. Census. Fuck, I screwed that one up. You get
Either
it.
Or. Frankly, it still works. This leads us to a scene in which, if you also want to watch just how uncomfortable this movie can get, watch Charles Bronson pick food items out of a cafeteria line, and you will be horrified beyond mention.
I love it. He picks up quiche by mistake. He's like, I thought it was pie.
And coleslaw, because those two things go together. You know, the great flavor combination of coleslaw and pie.
Yeah, it's like every character in this movie is like an alien pretending to be human or something.
I guess the whole quiche thing was like, at the time, people were like, real men don't eat quiche, which is like, It's a fucking baked egg dish. Is the bar for manhood so very, very low? Like, you can make it in the oven. It's fucking delicious.
Yeah, I think it was. I think anything that could be viewed even slightly as unmasculine is verboten.
Yeah, I'm surprised that there wasn't some sort of gag where he can a man get a steak around here?
What are you combing your hair? What are you, a girl?
We also meet some untapped talent here in this sequence. That's Kelly Preston, who would go on to marry a Scientologist, and Ola Ray, who is the woman who gets stalked by professional catboy Michael Jackson in the Thriller video. So if you ever wanted to see the girl from the Thriller video in the shower, may I introduce you to 10 to Midnight?
Her character's name is Ola as well.
Yeah, well, she seems Ola all over. She's just Ola.
It's like it makes you wonder, like if her character even had a name before they cast her.
She was nurse number 3.
I was gonna say in the script she was probably nurse number 3.
Yeah.
So during this lunch, Lisa Ellenbacher asks Andrew Stevens to a party, and they then go after what feels like an eternity of bad flirtation. But once they're there, hey, Gina, have you heard? There's a new kind of dance in town that everyone's doing. It's called hop up and down, offbeat to the music, and do it uncomfortably. We're working on a better name, but that's basically the name.
Yeah, I think this is supposed to be like what the young folks are doing, that punky rock thing.
It looks like they're cross country skiing.
You could tell because Lisa Eilbacher is wearing a headband
Underneath the hair.
Her regular clothes, but she's got a little headband on.
Oh man, yeah, this is where we get to see Andrew Stevens sweating, but it's all a preamble to sadly a recurring theme on the show, Gina, and that is watching someone have sex with a woman's thigh. And I did not think that this would be a theme in the show, and yet we confront it time and time again. Everyone, a vagina is in the hips area. You cannot be around the kneecap. That is the first sign that you are not having sex.
It's also one of several scenes in which a cop pulls out his gun and points at an innocent person. and then they're just like, oh, sorry.
Well, that's true to life.
Fair point. and Andrew Stevens and Lisa Eilbacher, and again, this is something that comes up a lot in the movies we talk about here. Negative chemistry. Just absolute. They seem more like brother and sister.
Yet, oddly, in an interview that is included on the Blu-ray of this movie, which I own, he says that Lisa Ellenbacher was the best kisser he's ever made out with in any movie that he was in. So let your imagination flow.
Good acting on her part, then. Because man, they just like nothing, absolutely nothing.
No, they feel like Mormon missionary companions.
He basically spends much of his time chiding her for not appreciating what a great cop her father is, which be still my heart. I mean, the way to a woman's heart is to berate her for not respecting her parents.
Yeah, why don't you respect your father's authority? Why can't you get with that? Oh, boy. But we also now get to hear the second obscene phone call with Andrew Stevens in the scene.
Oh, is this when they're like trying to record it to try to compare the interview with Warren in the prison interview versus the obscene phone calls?
And he's like he's just he clutches his pearls because she agrees to meet with him. He's like, I love the look on his face, like, wait, what? You dirty whore!
How dare you accept the filth that I deliver and want to agree to it? This is a one-way street, young lady.
My word. I've dropped my monocle.
It nearly popped off if I didn't have that fine chain holding it to my lapel. So they get the recording of it, and Andrew Stevens gives it to Charles Bronson, and Bronson's like, hey, this is the excuse I need. And so he goes into the CSU lab, and there's a guy smoking dope He seems like he ported over from the cast of Parts, the Clonus Horror. There's something very artificial about this lab tech.
Man, the Clonus Horror. I haven't heard about that in a long time.
Oh no, all of our references are for the children, like Wu-Tang for the children.
Only the
Sure.
most vintage references.
Of course. How about that Metropolis?
And so this brings us to where I love this scene where Jeffrey Lewis of every other Clint Eastwood movie fame just emerges whole cloth into this film. And thank God for it, because he really brings a sleazy charm to he's the only one who seems to know exactly the movie that he's in, probably because he starred in it a lot of times.
Yeah, he's great. I always loved him in those Clint movies with the ape Clyde. What was it? Every Which Way But No.
Every Which Way But Loose, Any Which Way You Can.
There you go. It always trips me up.
The almost trilogy. We almost got a trilogy out of it, everyone. But
I really wish we did. I say do it now. You did the mule. Like
I think Jeffrey Lewis. I think Jeffrey Lewis is deceased now, unfortunately.
But that doesn't
First
matter
of all,
anymore. Target him. Make him a CGI creation.
Clone him, attach him to an arm, have him show up with an orangutan. Who's going to know if it's the real orangutan? And prop Clint Eastwood up. It's great.
Or what if we clonus them all?
Various parts, put them together, and they're all in the movie in every scene, because Clint's got one orangutan arm, and he's got Jeffrey Lewis's leg, and maybe Jeffrey Lewis's mouth comes out from his clavicle. I think it works.
God.
I love this idea. Like a late 70s Frankenstein.
We got a real two-headed monster going on, but with orangutan arms. Think of the boxing career he's going to have now. This all works. And then towards the end, you just add $1 Million Baby to it when he falls over and hits his head.
Yes, I like that. It's a good ending.
Is Jeffrey Lewis wearing a wig in this? Because
yes.
He looks like a dragon scale with Jan Michael Vincent's hair on top of it.
Yeah, that's a rug.
I don't remember him having as much hair. I guess it kind of fits the sleazy lawyer vibe, but I found it delightful. But this is where Charles Bronson wanders into the room and goes, "Hey, just so you know, we're booking you on first-degree murder." And then Warren has the least chill of all time for someone who's about to be booked for first-degree murder. He just oozes, yeah, I did that murder.
Yeah, he starts throwing the chair. He starts throwing the chair against the door and stuff, and he's like making actual property damage. And it's like, if you're innocent, dude. I mean, I guess being mad about being charged with murder is one thing, but like, you're not coming off as innocent here.
Yeah, Robert Durst played it cooler and got off, I might add. Like they both weren't convicted of murder. That's how crazy this movie is. In court, they end up having to admit that Charles Bronson fabricated the evidence and put this Betty's blood on Warren's clothes.
It's insane that he lets it get to that level. Like, he's like, okay, I'm going to wait for the day of the court, and then I'm going to say, hey, Pally, DA, no, I did it. It's just like, how about earlier? How about before the court convened? And it's just such a public embarrassment.
Yeah, I mean, again, when was there ever a time where you could plant evidence? When was there a time that this was an okay thing to do?
And, you know, not for nothing, the whole Andrew Stevens thing of playing his partner, like, yeah, I get that it's completely unethical and Charles Bronson shouldn't be a cop, but this guy, I'm surprised he didn't go along with it.
Well, the whole idea is the audience is supposed to assume that Andrew Stevens is being unreasonable by insisting that they follow proper police protocol.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
He's the bummer. Like, oh, come on, just let me fabricate some murder evidence. Come on.
It's like I can't believe you're not willing to perjure yourself. What's wrong with you?
Come on, get with the times. There's also a moment where Jeffrey Lewis tells Warren, goes, I just want you to know, if we have to plead insanity, we're in pretty good shape. That is not good news. That is terrible news. If your lawyer tells you that, you're in trouble. Just so you know, if I tell everyone you're crazy, people are gonna buy it. Oh, great.
And this is of course the great speech that Warren gives at the end, which is just it's so good.
It's amazing.
Luckily, Warren, even though he gets off and not with his whack-it device,
he gets off.
The charges.
What was he jacking off?
But he is unfortunately let go from his typewriters, and one does wonder how those typewriters were fixed or transported to people's desks without him.
Now, this part I was almost confused about. Bronson breaks into his place of business and hangs up photos of these dead girls from police reports.
Charles Bronson continues to commit felonies.
Yeah.
He breaks into this office, he breaks into his house.
Right, and at this point he's no longer like a cop anymore, but he's still got like a gun and shit, and he's running around.
He's stalking and harassing him.
He's still white and confident.
I mean, even if he caught him again, it would still get thrown out.
It is. Yeah. Oh my God, it's really wacky. But the person who owned, or the office manager, I don't know what she is, but she's like, no, fuck it, you're done. Get out of here. And then amongst all the naked lady photos with blood all over them is just one magazine clipping of Philadelphia 76ers power forward Sidney Moncrief.
Wow. kind of high def television are you watching this?
Again, it's the power of Blu-ray, everyone. These movies were not meant to be seen in this much detail, but that's what I bring. I researched Sidney Moncrief for a good 15 minutes, and if I did that, you have to hear about it. But we also learned that Warren has kept his fucking murder weapon just in the pipes. It's just in the pipes. In the elbow of the pipes. And no one thought to fucking look there? They didn't like cut that open to see if like there was blood evidence or Jesus.
Everybody's bad at their jobs.
It's very relatable.
The only person who is good at what they do is Charles Bronson goading a serial killer into killing more people.
Yeah, that's what
put the pressure on him.
He is personally responsible for those girls' deaths. He absolutely is. He is responsible for that.
So the way Warren sets this up is like, I've got the greatest plan because I know that Charles Bronson is following me. I will go to Hollywood Boulevard. Where previously in Cobra we had seen a giant neon sign that just says sex girls. I was finger crossed hoping to see sex girls make a return. Unfortunately I did not. For those of you who don't live in town, 40 years later, I'm sad to report that all these dirty bookstores and porn theaters will become, and I apologize for how grotesque this sounds to our audience, but T-Mobile stores and improv class spaces.
Fuck.
It's worse.
It's gross. It makes me physically ill.
You know what you should do after this? You should go plant evidence on them.
Squirt a little blood around.
Yeah. Let's see what happens, man. That'll work out great.
T-Mobile, huh? You get one call from jail.
I've got a call for you. First degree murder. Fabricated.
Dial M for murder.
Amongst the prostitutes that we get to see is one guy dressed as Disco Shazam and Pearls for some reason. I guess prostitution always had a bit of narrow casting to it. I'm not going to yuck your yum, but I do wonder who the market for this guy is necessarily.
It's Hollywood.
There's somebody for everybody.
That's true. Hopefully someone can take a picture of him down at Man's Chinese Theater and they will charge him $5 and they're like, oh, he's gross. So here's the deal. He's going to pick up this prostitute. He's going to go to a hotel, and he tells the hotel manager, we're going to need a wake-up call in 3 hours because they're going to watch Avengers Endgame. I'm not sure. But he's going to drug this prostitute with some sort of sleeping potion in a whiskey bottle.
Is that what he did?
Window.
I thought she just drank too much. I didn't even see it. Did he poison her? I didn't see it.
No, he did something to the whiskey because he pours 2 glasses.
Oh, okay. That
says,
explains why he poured it out then. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I was a little confused too in this thing. I was like, oh, I guess she's tired.
No, I had to watch it twice. She's sweepy from the job because it's a lot of time on your feet, and I get it. I really get it. Listen, she's a working girl, quite literally. But my favorite part of this is when Bronson walks in, and the motel guy's like, "What are you here for?" He's like, "I'm looking for a guy this tall," and he points to about his shoulder.
Yeah, it's like I'm looking for a man who's about 5'4". It's like
I'm looking for Al Pacino, but in heels.
Hoo-ha!
Why don't you understand how tall Warren is? He is taller than you, okay?
I mean, this is when you do another take, fellas, right? Come on.
Like J. Lee Thompson's like, yep, we got it. Let's moving on. That's about as tall as he is. Anyone could identify him. That makes perfect sense. In a motel full of guys sleeping with prostitutes.
I love that this 1982 hotel still has the 1940 style telephone system where you have to like plug into something to make a call.
It's like something out of Ringy Dingy Dingy.
I'm pretty sure
here.
they would have like, pay phones in the hallways at this point.
Yeah.
What I also love about this sequence is it's like setting up an alibi because now he's going to try to go kill Leo's daughter, Charles Bronson's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like my alibi is I was doing illegal stuff.
Exactly. It's like my alibi was I was harassing these women.
I was paying for sex. What's so wrong about that? You can't arrest me for that.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess it's a lesser offense, sure, if you're going to go down for something.
Okay. What we were talking about? Oh, he's
hiring prostitutes.
Hiring prostitutes. Having sex with whores. So he basically gets Bronson to get embroiled in this, and then he skirts out the window. And apparently the VW Ted Bundy bug that he drives has a warp engine attached to it. Because he just jets right across fucking town. And it takes Charles Bronson forever to get there in relation
Charles
to him.
Bronson at one point is thwarted by a public bus. Keeps pulling in front of him. Like, oh, jeez.
He's never seen the 10 freeway. He doesn't believe in it. So he's just taking surface streets to get all the way to UCLA. And so we get to this nurse's dorm, and the inevitable happens. Charles Bronson has goaded the serial killer into murdering more women. It's a great plan.
A ton of them. My lord, the body count in this section.
Oh, it's a fucking rampage. And he shows up fully dressed with roses, of course, takes off the clothes, and ascends the stairs fully nude. Does anyone else live in this dorm? Are they all alone?
It's a good question.
Yeah, apparently he just was just able to walk right in the front door. That seems like questionable security.
Naked flower delivery, ma'am.
But yeah, I'm just thinking about this whole thing with that he probably wouldn't have done this if Charles Bronson hadn't gone on a campaign of harassment. Now imagine having to explain that to these girls' parents.
Right, yeah.
Their collateral damage in this fantastic plan of his. Like, it just, what could go wrong? Oh, everything? Then it all went right.
Like, I mean, I can't figure out what the end game in harassing him was. That he was going to be like, all right, you got me, I did it.
What are you going to do? So, yeah,
stop setting up booby traps in my apartment.
Yeah, I guess it's all done just to be like, I told you so's. I mean, you're no longer a cop. You're already been ousted, and it's just like trying to get him to kill again to catch him in the act.
Yes, but he's
yes, like, okay, and obviously endangering your daughter's life. 3 of her friends get butchered here.
yeah, they all die, and in extended sequences of
Right, one gets like immediately stabbed at the door, and then one's crying for a while, and then
poor Bunny. Bunny is Bunny is like that actor's really giving her all that scene.
she really is. And then Ula gets stabbed in the shower, right?
Yeah.
Yes, she commits the sin of reaching for a towel.
Right, because then he thinks it's Lori, Charles Bronson's daughter, so he just goes in stabbing. But I mean, he would have stabbed anyway, right? This guy.
Yeah, I mean, come on. It was bound to happen.
Oh,
He's a
earlier in
stab
the
first kind of guy.
Earlier in the film, Charles Bronson talks about like how the knife is his penis.
Yeah.
It's like the
I
extension.
forgot about that.
Yeah, I love the pop psychology that's expressed in this movie.
I turned this movie on at like 9 a.m. and I was like, this is spicy. It's like 9 a.m. What am I doing?
This is not one you want to see when the sun comes up. No. This is a rude cup of coffee. Let me tell you that right now.
I might do it every morning to wake up.
The best part of waking up is listening to Charles Bronson use the phrase "jack it off."
Yes, exactly.
I'm a real son of a bitch. I want a cup of coffee and I want it now, and I always get what I want. All these people die. Lisa Elmbacher gets into the bathroom and is able to close off the door. And then they kind of have like this duel of words where she's like, hey, someone's pulling up outside. That's bound to be my dad. And he's like, all right, you got me, but I'm going to come back and I'm going to kill you later.
He leaves it for someone who is supposedly super careful. He's leaving bloody footprints everywhere. And it's just, he's completely given up any pretense of hiding. So it makes you wonder, why did he bother taking his clothes off?
Well, that's part of the thing, though.
It's hot night,
if you don't... Once again, we are left with the hot and hungry situation where someone's found naked with Jell-O. It's just, that's what you do. You take off all your clothes and you eat.
And you kill.
Yes. And then Lisa Elbacher hears him skulk away, figures, all right, the coast is clear. And she walks out of the bathroom so casually. But guess what? It was a ruse. She's heated up a curling iron, and when Warren comes out and tries to slash her, she gives him the old Judy's vagina treatment from Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah, he falls down for some reason. I'm not sure why. A facial injury would cause him to collapse to the ground.
I think he's just jerking out of the way at shock, I suppose.
Oh, okay.
Or he just wanted to get more blood on his naked body and see how it looks like.
Just leaving as much evidence around as possible.
Yeah, this is like real. Like, this is the end game. He knows. I feel like he knows by now. Like, I'm not coming back from this. I might as well kill as many people as possible.
So we get a very long barefoot chase of them just running down the middle of a street. Apparently, no one lives there. No one looks out a window.
It's quarantine.
Yeah, it's quarantine.
They should remake this for now.
We do know a helicopter has been called because the movie focuses a lot of time on looking at that helicopter's searchlight, and compelling film work, everyone.
I mean, I kept waiting for Charles Bronson to look at his watch and say it's about 10 to midnight.
Yeah, like the copy for this movie is a cop, a killer, a deadline. I don't remember anybody mentioning anything about a deadline. And I assume that like 10 to midnight was when he kills, but no, he does almost all of his killing in broad daylight except at the end.
It just seems like a random title, like, oh, it sounds kind of cool.
They made it up at Cannes when they sold the rights to the movie internationally because the script was Bloodbath. They're just
really?
We can't call it Bloodbath. Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm very serious.
Well, so no.
No, I'm very serious.
Because 10 to Midnight sounds more like a cop movie than Bloodbath would be.
Yeah, for sure. but they didn't really worry about connecting it in any way, shape, or form. I just think the guy who wrote that copy is like, how am I going to make this work as a Charles Bronson police thriller? And that's the way they thought about it.
Yeah, the deadline is like of killing my daughter.
Yeah.
Like there's a deadline to kill my daughter.
Let's get this done already. So Warren is trapped. Lisa Elbacher manages to outrun him. The cops surround him on all sides. Andrew Stevens shows up, useless as ever. And Charles Bronson gets to hear this monologue from Warren of like, I guess the lawyer's words have gotten to him. It's like, I'm just going to plead insanity.
Yeah, he just rattles off a bunch of things that are wrong with him. It's like, yeah. I have two different personalities. I hear voices. It's like, Warren, those are two different things. Those are two different afflictions.
You're right. My personalities have two different voices. So I guess four total voices.
But yeah, he does the same thing that Brian Thompson does in Cobra, where he goes into this bizarre rant where he says, "You can't do anything to me because I'm sick," which yeah. I don't know what that means. I mean, you can absolutely do something to someone because they're sick. You could put them in a psychiatric hospital, and yeah, regardless of what these seasoned cop characters say, someone like Warren is probably not going to get out of a psychiatric hospital at any point in the rest of his life.
Yeah, there seemed to be a bunch of like animosity in the 80s about like, oh, some eggheads are going to get you off on a technicality and you're not going to be killed by the state. How terrible.
Yeah, it's not the greatest of messages. And it gets even worse because at the end of this monologue, and I thought at any second he's going to lunge with that knife.
No, he just shoots him.
Just straight up shoots him.
I mean, this is like the police are apprehending Warren at this point. At this moment of the film, you're like, okay, Charles Bronson might find redemption. Maybe he'll be reinstated on the force, and this will come to a natural conclusion. But no, he just shoots Warren in the fucking head. And then the movie ends. The credits begin.
Like the movie's like, we done did it. We did it, everybody.
Hooray!
Credits roll.
Evil has been vanquished.
That's what we all came to see, right? Right? No?
It's like Charles Bronson, do you know how many laws you have broken?
Laws are for other people, lady.
But you're right about the evil thing, Gina, because it's like these aren't people. Like, this is just pure evil. Any criminal in an 80s cop movie is just a pure evil from another dimension.
Yeah, I did a little research on this, and
flesh.
The actor who played Warren, his directions from the director were, you can do whatever you want with this character, just don't make him in any way the least bit sympathetic. Just make him a creep from scene one.
He did a pretty good job then,
He did do a good job, because I absolutely bought him as a complete and utter creep. But yeah. It's an interesting take on the serial. Well, I mean, I don't know if I use the word. Maybe I should use the word interesting. It's a baffling take on the serial killer trope, because usually the whole thing is it's this secret life that they live, which makes it a more compelling thing. Here he's harassing his coworkers, he's making crank calls, he's just his, again, as we mentioned, his alibi is grotesquely hitting on women in a public place, and
crank calls. That's another layer of evil. you fancy yourself a jerky boy.
in a Speedy Gonzalez accent for no discernible reason.
It sounds like the Jerky Boys to me.
Well, yeah.
Nailed it in one. Oh boy. So I think that pretty much brings us to the end of 10 to Midnight. But of course, before we go, we also love to play Choose Your Own Deathventure, and that is where we decide of the deaths seen in the movie. If you were forced to die one of those ways, which one would you choose and why? And of course, we don't have really a variance of how people die. They're all stabbed with the same knife. But I guess my question to both of you is, which of the locations that people are killed in would you like to be found naked in? Up for suggestion here, we have Down by the Lake, in your dueling twin bed apartment, a nursing dorm, or a street down by UCLA by the look of it. And so, Eric, as our guest, I choose you to go first.
Oh, thank you. Well, if I was going to be found naked, I would definitely want to be down by the lake. That sounds like a lot of fun,
Yes.
Go for a dip. But if I was going to be killed in a way from the film, I say just shoot me right in the head, right? At the just get it over with.
Right in front of the cops. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can. Plus, it's Charles Bronson, so he doesn't miss. I read that on a movie poster, and it bears out true here.
I would prefer to be dressed when I get shot in the head, though, because I have a working theory that once you become a ghost, you're wearing the clothes you were wearing. And if you're naked, I think that's when they give you the full sheet. Like the netherworld's like, cover up. Come on, guys.
Listen, the humans can't see you, but we can. So here you go.
Exactly.
We don't need to go through eternity with that. Haunt somewhere else, fully clothed. Thank you very much. All right, Gina, what say you?
I think I wouldn't mind if I had to be murdered. I wouldn't mind, while I'm cooking myself a nice breakfast. Mm-hmm. And it's very thoughtful of Warren to turn off the gas after he kills his victim.
Yeah, no, he doesn't want those eggs to burn. They're right on the edge of where you want them.
He hates women, not breakfast.
Those eggs smell delicious, and they shouldn't suffer the same fate that she did because she.
I mean, they didn't. The eggs didn't sleep with a lot of guys.
Oh, that we know of. Anyways, so before we go, Eric, please, this is your opportunity to tell people where they can find more of you and the things that you do.
Sure. Most of it can be found at whmpodcast.com. That's where you can find everything that We Hate Movies does. Not only do we do like a bad movie podcast on Patreon, we do like a We Love Movies things where we talk about a movie we enjoy. We have various side shows. We have Star Trek podcasts. We have we've been recapping the new Picard show. And during this whole quarantine lockdown, we're a New York City based show, and I don't know when New York City will be available again. So we've been remotely doing a 90210 and Melrose Place rewatch, and we're releasing episodes every week on our main feed. So you can find out more about it at whmpodcast.com. Also, you can follow me on Twitter, ERICSZYSZKA, and I'm always tweeting out the shit we're doing. And you could also find the TJ Hooker podcast that way if you want. But thank you for the opportunity.
All right, Gina, where can people find you on these here internets?
I am a writer for The Spool. That's thespool.net, in which I write about movies and television. I am also on Twitter under Porcelain72.
All right, do it today, people. Check it out. Of course, you can find us on Twitter at KillByKillPod, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. Please rate and review us on iTunes. It helps us be seen and heard by more people. And that just about does it. I don't know what movie's happening next. This is our season 3 opener, and it's being recorded well in advance. But something fun's going to happen. And this was super great. I can't believe it happened. It's wonderful. I had a delightful time, and I hope everyone at home did too. So for myself, for Gina, and for Eric, bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Uh-oh, hold on. Oh, I cannot discuss this any further. Okay, please take it outside. I'm sorry, I have a 9-year-old getting a Nintendo Switch. Okay.
So he should not be hearing about this movie.
No, I can't continue on until he's out of the room and earshot. Oliver, take it out. My friend. Ollie, I'm not the only one on the clock here. I'm glad it amuses you. Rate me 5 stars on iTunes. He thinks
I love
that's
the cackling. It always kills me.